Hello everyone, and welcome back to my very first episode actually of the PiTypical podcast. It is Pi right along with you, and if you have not checked out the previously uploaded, I'm going to call it a preview to this podcast. I started with how to keep gambling fun, which was actually a vlog, and it was done in podcast style, so check that out on my YouTube channel if you haven't already, and you will find out how I began to gamble and why. I don't want to do a lot of backstory on that because you can already check that out. Also, the second I uploaded was how to keep gambling fun. It's got a few tips if you're new to gambling on how to keep it fun at all times. But in today's session of our official PiTypical podcast, I want to talk a little bit about what I did not know starting a YouTube slot channel. And as I stated earlier, the way I began, I'm going to brush over that just a little bit because that's important to this series today. I was DJing on a couple of radio stations long before I started YouTube. And on the last one that I had DJ'd on, the woman that owned the station suggested, because I was always sharing my jackpots with her, the pictures, that I start doing this. And I said to her, "What do you mean?" And she passed me a picture of a slot channel on YouTube. I had no idea that you could do this kind of thing. I had never really checked YouTube out for any reason. I feel kind of sad and embarrassed to say that at this point, but it is the truth. And always with me, PiTypically, you will get the truth. That's just the way I like to conduct myself, so that was the truth. So I began to research a little bit. I started watching a few of the channels, and I wasn't sure that I wanted to put myself out there like that. I wasn't sure about it. So I tossed it around in my mind for a little bit. And I thought, well, maybe not, maybe. I wasn't sure. I really wasn't. And I kind of was leaning towards not doing it. And I didn't know a lot about how to go about it. I would not recommend you start the way I did, because what I did was, I finally convinced myself, okay, you know what? I'm already gambling, and all this would mean is just filming myself and putting that out there. So I decided, okay, that's not too bad, not too shabby, not too scary. May as well give it a go. And I got so excited about the idea of starting that I thought, well, gosh, I wish I could do something. And so my very first video that I uploaded to YouTube was something I already had in my inventory, because I had filmed a little bit of a bonus I got on a game called Power Strike. So I dug through my computer files and I uploaded it onto my channel, and it went live, and I put it out there just to see what it looked like. And I was like, well, that's not so bad, but I still did not know anything. I recommend you do a little research if you want to start any kind of YouTube channel, because if you're not familiar with YouTube, then you need to go ahead and look into maybe the niche that you're considering and try to understand as much as possible. So then I uploaded a second one, and here we are today, you know, all these years later. I started my channel the end of December of 2018, and now here we are. I'm fully monetized, and I'm having a really good time doing this. If I wasn't, I wouldn't be doing it. That's something else I would like to talk to you about. A lot of people don't realize the time involved in a YouTube channel, the investment involved. You're going to work pretty darn hard. So if you have a job already, you're going to have to pin out some time to do this. And you probably won't be able to do an entire lot of it. Not if you have a full plate in other areas. You have to have the time to do this. I would not recommend, unless you are a person that loves to gamble, doing what I do, and I'll tell you why. You need content to upload to YouTube to keep people coming back. Now, as we all know, gambling costs money. It doesn't matter whether you're a low roller, a medium roller, or a high roller. You're going to be investing a lot of money into your craft. It's the same thing for someone that starts a shopping channel. Obviously, they're going to be shopping or they're not going to have any content. And so therefore, that is something you need to know ahead of time and plan for it. One way, if you're really wanting to do the slots, that you could go about it is to film way in advance of getting a channel. or just get it and don't list it. Begin to upload, and then when you feel you have enough content, go ahead and upload maybe 5 to 10 videos and go ahead and push publish and let it be there. That way you've got something for them to watch while you're trying to craft more content. Okay, now that I've said that, the next thing I would say, make sure you have a social media presence. What do I mean by that? Facebook. I had a personal Facebook, and I also had a slot channel Facebook, but I had no idea the amount of time that you need to put into Facebook so that people are locating you, finding you, watching your reels, and it's just so much to know. So you might want to research that if you're not familiar with Facebook on how you go about that. I also have a Twitter presence. I had one of those for a long time, and I just went ahead and integrated myself onto Twitter, where I share what I'm doing, sometimes pictures, sometimes a meme, whatever you can do to put yourself out there, because here's the thing. Nobody is going to advertise you better than you. It's that simple. You've got to be your own PR department. There are tools to help you. One of my favorite tools for doing slot channel is the TubeBuddy program. They have a free TubeBuddy app that you can start and get started with, and that's how I started TubeBuddy. I'm also an affiliate with TubeBuddy. I will put a link in the description below, and if you would like to investigate and put a free download and get started, I highly recommend it. It's how you SEO your videos, and if you want to get discovered, it's a great way to start learning how to go about doing that. TubeBuddy is great. I highly recommend it. Another thing you need to prepare for and think about are the hours, and I do mean hours, that you will spend editing and content grabbing. We talked a little bit about if you're a slot channel, obviously you're going to be getting the content at the casino because that's where content arrives for a gambler. Now, for getting content, then you have to edit the content. I prefer on my channel to show all my play, but I still do edit because you have to do an intro, you have to have an outro. Sometimes I put things in between the video to keep the interest going. So you have a lot to learn in that department as well if you don't already have some education with shooting and filming and editing. There are free programs out there. You can research those. Just Google what, software that you think you might be interested in. I know there's a few of them. And I did do a little bit of research, but I got one that was user-friendly that I felt comfortable with. Now, let's talk about something that's not so pleasant. Trolls. I hate to get to that subject, but hey, they happen. I feel sorry for trolls in one way, and I'll tell you why. If you have got the time to come onto people's timelines and bother them and leave hateful comments, obviously you're not a very busy individual because you could be crafting or working on your own channel. You could be doing a lot of things besides knocking other people. And I'm not a big fan of that. I believe that we all need to uplift each other. I believe that there is room for everyone on YouTube. I honestly do. But I don't recommend it to everyone unless they are passionate about it. Because as I said, you are going to spend a lot of time doing this. Now, and the fun part, you're going to find fun parts. For most gamblers, the fun part is getting the content because they love to gamble. Some people may not like editing. I happen to love it. I absolutely love doing the video part of this. I also have another YouTube channel. That's how much I do love it. So I think I was kind of lucky that I stumbled into this because of that lady recommending I do it. Otherwise, I wouldn't be sitting in this chair talking to all of you right now in my avatar form. And a lot of people probably wonder about that too. Let me just say this. I like mixing fantasy with reality and reality with fantasy. Therefore, it is easier for me to hop into this little suit and talk to all of you than it would be to spend hours trying to get presentable enough to talk to you, if you know what I mean. That's just something I'm not that passionate about. It is a lot better for me to come at you in this form and get my job done than to spend half a day trying to get presentable to come in and talk to you for maybe 20 minutes. That's not something I think is time efficient for me. Some people, they love to do all that, the foo-foo and I just do that if I'm going to go out. Mainly so I don't scare everybody. That's the only reason I ever. Otherwise, I just run around all the time, probably looking like a hot mess because, well, I like doing that. It's just comfortable. Now, back to these trolls. You have got blocks in your YouTube that you can block some words if there are words that are troublesome to you and your community. I highly recommend doing that. The best way to handle a troll, besides not becoming one yourself, is to block, ignore. I really like the ignore. Sometimes you cannot ignore, especially if someone is doing something harmful. We hate to report people. If it ever comes to that, just go ahead and report the person. Whatever you have to do to keep yourself and your community safe, that's what I highly recommend. And, you know, most of those people are very unhappy, so maybe try to be kind. But if they make it unavoidable to be kind, then obviously you're going to have to learn how to handle them. Just don't be too sensitive, because you can't come here and be sensitive. It won't work. And don't go the other way either. Don't become really hateful and mean, because the world does not need any more of that. Now, what I would say is, watch people on YouTube that are doing what either you would love to do or that you're already doing, and notice the really good ones. What are they doing that you could do? I don't mean to copy, though. You must always be authentic and be yourself. Everybody recognizes copycat. So if you go trying to behave like another channel or trying to imitate them, and you know, sometimes it's not even intentional. A lot of people make catch phrases. Like in our business, we all say line it up. I know there is a channel that says that, and it's probably his coin, and I try really hard not to say that. But once in a while when you're gambling, you may say, I wish it would line up. That doesn't mean you're copying that individual. It means you just use the phrase. And I do try really hard not to use other people's phrases, because the last thing you want to do is make enemies inside your own niche. That's not something you want to do. I do feel that it might be unavoidable at times. Not because you're copying or you're not trying. It's just that people get weird. They get weird around success. They get weird around money. I hate to say that, but it's true. I think it comes from a lack mentality, that if people think there's only so many viewers and only so many fans, and then they get all worried if they're watching you. I don't even bother with that, and I'll tell you why. There's only one you, guys. Be the best you can be. I'm sincere about that. I don't ever worry about what anyone else is doing, because why should I? I am not going to compare me to them, because there's no need for me to do that. I'm Pirate. I'm Pirate, Sparrow, Slots. And I am PiTypical. Everything I do is PiTypical. It's PiTypically me, which is why I named that podcast the PiTypical Podcast, which you are currently listening to. And I want to thank you for tuning in. I really do. The reason I felt we should address all this is because I think there's room for everybody. And there's got to be people out there that are scratching their heads going, I wonder if I should start a slot channel. Well, I would like to encourage you, if you were already gambling, go right ahead. Why not? The more the merrier. But like I said, be aware that A, you're going to have a lot of work, and B, you are going to need a whole lot of content. And you're going to have to decide what kind of channel are you going to be. Are you going to be a bonus-only channel? Are you going to show the reality of gambling? That's what I do. I love it, because when I'm watching another slot player, even if I'm in the casino live watching a slot player, I want to know where they started, how they got to where they're going, whether it was win or lose. I want to know. You know why? Because I learn a lot by watching what happens. And I'm not saying that you can get a bunch of insider tips. I don't believe that. I believe that timing is everything in gambling. You have machines that are random. You have the program that is in there, and you don't know how that program works. Nobody does. The only person that knows how the program works is the person that programmed that game. And they're not allowed to tell you anything about it. I love being surprised, which is another reason I love to gamble. I like sitting down, sometimes with just a few dollars, and increasing, and then it's always up to you, and this is the hard part, of knowing when to walk away. Sometimes we do get carried away, and we go a little longer than we should. We've all seen the videos. I've had a few myself. Uh, Always know this. The house is always going to win. The casino is a business. They are there for them, and they love to welcome you into their doors. Why do you think they do giveaways? Why do you think they give free play? Another thing about free play, guys, if you've never gambled before, the further away you are from a casino, the better your free play will be. You're not going to get a lot if you live close, but that doesn't mean you shouldn't frequent that casino. I'm just letting you know right here and now that that's how they do their free play. You always get better offers if you live further away from the casino. All right, so I want to talk to you too about staying in your own lane. And what do I mean by that? Just exactly what I said, basically. Be you, do the best you possible, and people will sense and feel that. Not everybody is going to like you and what you offer, so don't try to get everybody to like you. Just be real. Be yourself. Show what you want to show, and show it in the best way possible for you and your audience. And those are about the only tips I have for starting a slot channel. Like I said, I wouldn't start the way I did because I had no idea what I was doing. But I also want to say, had I known what I was doing, I might never have started. And if you're like me, then you might want to start the way I did, because if I'd thought about it too long, I can guarantee you I wouldn't be here, and I would have missed one of the best times of my life, because I absolutely love doing this. And I love doing it on the other channel too, which is Pirate Sparrow Adventures. And if you want to check me out over there, feel free to do so. I have enjoyed speaking with you today. And when my husband gets time, he will be joining the podcast from time to time. And we'll be doing all kinds of casino chatter. We'll be telling you all kinds of funny stories from our past. Because like I said, I was doing this way long before I ever started the YouTube channel. I've been gambling well over 20 years. And obviously, I do love to gamble, or I wouldn't still be sitting here. And it's so cool that we get to share this with each and every one of you. Now, on this podcast also, we will be getting off track, because that's just who my husband and I are. We're going to talk to you. We're going to have fun. We're going to have some giggles. But we will always bring the chatter back around to gambling, because this is typically what we do on Pirate Sparrow Slots. So I want to thank you for tuning in. I hope some of this has been helpful or insightful to you. And I want to thank you for listening and tuning in to the PiTypical podcast with Pirate Sparrow.